Are we doing again? Good. Are we awake now? Okay. For those of you that are sitting next to someone, just kind of squish their shoulder a little bit if you need to take a nap. It won't hurt my feelings. Jesus is watching you, though. Just throw that out there. Cool. All right. All right. We good? Everybody on Facebook? We're good? Hello. Good morning, everybody. For those of you outside, if you're there and you hear me, go ahead and give a honk so we know we're all good. Oh, I love that. And I don't understand how people say they still have an excuse of not being able to be at church. I don't get it. Like, you can be right out there enjoying the sun and the heat of your own car next to the person you love. Or at the couch, I guess. Either one. But we're here, so that's good. All right, let's go ahead and turn. Brother Aaron, don't put that up yet, but for everybody else, for those of you that have your electronic versions or your paperback versions, however that will be, outside in the yard or at home over Facebook online, we're going to start off with Proverbs 22:6, but don't put that up yet, Mr. Brother Aaron. Okay. Today is gonna be a little bit more of a teaching type lesson, if that's okay. We might have a little bit of interaction with everybody, but if not, that's okay too. We'll just kind of see how it goes. But first and foremost, we definitely want to remember thoughts and prayers and safety and travel going out to Pastor and Grandma and Grandpa heading back up north to the very cold. Aunt Mary, what's the temperature up there by you or people up there? 45? 25? So what are they driving into? About the same? Snow. That's exactly it. We don't need any snow more talk on that one. Just snow it is. Sorry, thanks, Alec. But today, we're going to be going up on kind of a leadership lesson. Does anyone have any form of leadership in your job, in your school, or in your family dynamics, and any type of authority type thing? And the irony is, I saw some hands go up, but the ironic thing is everybody should have had their hand up. If you're a parent, if you're a grandparent, you have some form of leadership, mentorship. If you work, you can be a good example for your coworkers, right? That's the thing that Jesus, he specifically says, we're supposed to be a peculiar people. One of the facets to being a peculiar people in a Christian walk is that there's something different about us. There should be something a little more unique in how we interact with people, right? There should be something very specific and even just slightly odd on how we perform our daily tasks. Even as simple as the way, well, not to say the way we dress, not to make a fashion statement, but the way we carry ourselves. We should have a sense of pride, but yet humbleness when people see us and interact with us. Just something that is unique to say there's something different about that guy, that lady, that I need to pay attention to. And in that moment, there is some form of leadership because there's some form of representation of Christ that we should always have in everything that we do. Now, for me, that's really weird because for those of you that, I might have said this in the past, but for those of you that don't know, just go a little trip on memory road for me. Growing up was difficult and yet very easy. And it was very easy for me to be able to manipulate my life because my father, he was in the Navy. He was a submariner, a communication specialist, something like that. So sometimes he was up in the air on the Navy planes, and sometimes he was really deep down in the ocean. Sometimes he was on the surface. He was moved around a lot. And when he was moved around a lot, obviously my family was moved around a lot. Third grade alone, anyone take a wild guess how many schools I was in at third grade alone? 5? 4? 6? Oh, that would have been bad. 9. 9 different schools in third grade alone. If you just kind of close split that, 4, and then it was a lot. And because of moving, it was so weird because you know how when you go from one, even counties have kind of different education standards, right? If you do homeschool, private school, if you go to prep schools or anything like that. And when you go to different states, you have different requirements and levels within study. So third grade alone, it was weird because I had to repeat it because I'll move to one state and I was the smartest kid in class. I'll move to another state and I barely made it. It was really difficult. So it was split over 2 years, but even if you split third grade alone in 2 years, that's 4 and 5. That's still a lot. Anything more than 2 schools in one year, that's a lot. It really sets you back a little bit. But what it did teach me is it taught me how to really be a unique individual. It taught me not to be scared on meeting other people. And it got to be so fun because one year I thought, well, if I move to this one school, maybe I can be, like the class clown, see how that works. And if it doesn't work, it's okay because I'll be moving in 2 months anyway. The next one, it's like, oh, maybe I can be the jock this time. Or maybe I can be the drama geek this time. Or maybe I can be the nerdy guy this time. And I really did. I got to experience different personalities and come up with completely different type of history. Because they didn't know, and I really didn't care because I wasn't going to be around them at all. The part that really got me sad is when it came to my birthday. I didn't bother inviting anyone. I didn't bother getting excited because I didn't know if I was going to be there long enough for them to actually come. And I would get there and I'd hear other people with their birthday parties and their fun events with their friends. And I always had to hear about it because I was always the new guy. And it's definitely not like a Disney movie or Hallmark movie where it's like, hey, you got the extreme, like, whoa, that dude's really ugly, so we're going to stay away from him. Or, wow, that's the hot new, hot guy or hot new girl. And it's like, what's their story? What's their background? It's not like that in reality. When you constantly move around and you're constantly the new person, it's more like, what is it? And I really started to realize that with all these different schools and all these different environments and all these different cultures and languages, like it wasn't even just moving around. I remember being in North Carolina. I remember living in Florida. I remember living in California. I remember living in the Philippines. I remember living in Hawaii. I remember living all over the place. But the one thing that the movies do get right is the cliques. They do get the cliques right. You have the little pockets of personalities at every single school. And the luxury is I got to see them all, and every once in a while I'd try to fit into which whenever I liked. By the time I was in 5th grade, I ended up moving from Hawaii to here, so that time I was only 2 schools, so that was pretty cool. 6th and 7th grade was the first time I actually been able to actually go to a school the entire year. 8th grade, I was like, wow, I can finally go through a middle school section at the same school, but no, they opened a new school, so then I got rezoned. I got rezoned to go to another school, so I didn't make it through there. High school was really awesome because then I actually got to go to the same high school all 4 years, and I finally actually got to go to a birthday party. And I actually got to invite people to my birthday party. You know how crazy it is to have a birthday party where it's just your mom and your sister? It was weird. I'm sure I had a couple, because I know when we lived in Hawaii, we had a lot of family there, so those birthdays we probably had a lot of other people, but they're all old uncles and aunts and everything, and they always gave me clothes for birthday presents. Oh, I can't stand clothes. Now I'm like, clothes, give me clothes, but back then it was like, give me a toy, give me something I can shoot, give me something I can climb on, give me a sword or something. But in high school, it was really weird, and it was so funny because I was able to really connect with everyone. I never understood what it was like to be popular, but I wouldn't say I was a popular person, but I really did know everybody. I really loved that when you go from one class to another class for block classes, part of my high school years, we had 8 classes, including lunch, so I guess technically only 7 subjects. And then we had block, so we'd do 4 classes one day, and then 4 classes the next day, and then we'd have another 4 classes. So it was really weird how they did the schedule, but it altered how we did the class structure in public school. But I made it a point, every single class, every single rotation, every subject rotation, every semester, when anything got rotated out in the subjects or from year to year, I would make sure I'd sit somewhere in class, kind of in the middle, maybe closer to the front, but not too much in the front, because you don't want to be classified as that guy. So then I would make sure to make friends and know something and find something I had in common with every single person in class. So by the time it came to my junior year, I knew majority of the school. And I can connect with every single person, with every single class. Find something in common with them. And it made such a big difference to me, and I didn't realize what was going on. But then when I started going into work, I just applied to the same thing. And for me, it was very easy to get noticed by my supervisors and managers, to always, to be able to level up, to be able to work ahead and grow into leadership roles. And even if there wasn't an opportunity for me to excel in the actual corporate ladder, so to speak, it was always good because it was always so fun to work. And even other people in work, they always said, it's so much better to work with you because I don't have to worry about any drama. And it was at that moment in my life, I kind of remember back, and I'm very grateful for the life that God gave me. When I was younger, it did bother me that I didn't have the concept of friendship. Because when you're always the new person, there's no strength, there's nothing there. But I did learn how to value my parents. And I did learn how to value the relationship with my sister. Even today, if she's watching this, she'll know. She's like, well, then why'd you always want to strangle me? I mean, we still had the sibling rivalry, but it was never without appreciation. And then, of course, growing older, it was, for me, because of that, it was very easy just to step up and to realize that, life isn't about me. And I think back on Christianity and how many times we sabotage our own work with God and our own walk with God because we're too busy standing in our own way. Moving forward, I got into film going into college, and I absolutely loved it. One of my very first job, I was working at Medieval Times over here in Florida, or in Kissimmee area. And I got to play with all the swords, and I loved it. And I became a really big history buff. I loved it. They let me actually sell swords, $400 swords, $500 swords, $1,000 swords, multiple, $7,000, $10,000 suits of armor. And I got to play in it, and I got to wear it, and they paid me. Yes. That was great. I got to threaten small children with long serrated blades. And their parents tipped me for it, for making their night enjoyable. It was fantastic. I loved it. And of course, because of that, it got me really good into acting. So of course, I was in acting in high school, and then I got into acting in college, and then I got into the film program in college, and I got to work on different sets and movies and all that stuff, because it was easy for me to come up with a new character, just boom, really quick, because I was a lonely child. But it brought me so much joy when I realized, it's like you just have fun with what you got. Have fun with the way God brought you up. And then, of course, later, I got into martial arts and with the background and all that stuff. That was one of the things that my dad, he did say, I had to have some form of unity. So everywhere we went, some form of consistency. Wherever we went, he would always try to find a good quality martial arts instructor to kind of mentor me. One form of consistency. And of course, we tried to, go to church wherever we could, but, same thing. By the time it was like, hi, my name is goodbye. I mean, it didn't last long. But the martial arts thing is one consistent thing that really held me, because no matter where you went, where you go, you can still train, For those of you that have any knowledge of martial arts, could you imagine earning your white belt 7 times? Because you go from one school to another. That was kind of crazy. I think Kobe might be the only one that can really relate to that one, because it took him 7 years. But anyway, sorry, Kobe, if you heard that. But taking all that to kind of move forward into the purpose of our lesson and to understand the backstory, I truly value the perspective in leadership of looking at other people's point of view. Looking at how other people see the world and see their environment, see their relationships with other people, that really makes or breaks the opportunity to get something done. Brother Aaron, go ahead and throw that up there. Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. it's really funny to take in consideration a person's character truly is how you were treated when you were younger. Early childhood development will say that, if you don't have your child taken care of by the time they're 5, you're going to lose them. It's going to be really hard to rein them back in, right? You can tell some of you that have seen other parenting skills and other children, and they're like 7 and 8, and how they act and how they react in situations in public. You can say, oh, I'm going to feel very bad for them when that kid's 16. I feel bad for those parents when they're teenagers. One time I took Leilana, we went to the park, and I don't let Leilana cry. I don't like it. She can tears, yes, but I don't like the whining and screaming. Oh, it just nails on a chalkboard. It irritates me. So I don't let her do that. We try our best to rein that in as much as possible, because I don't want her to be the kid that has a hissy fit in public, because that's really embarrassing. And Stephanie, she's a smacker, so I don't want DCF calling on us or whatever. So I really try. You don't understand. For your safety, don't do that. Because if you want mommy at home, don't do that. Just ignore that if you're watching that part on Facebook. So I'm pushing her on the swing, and she's having a great time. Woohoo! Woohoo! Having a great time. And then she looks over because she sees this other kid who has to share the swing with their brother, and they don't want to. So the girl's flailing and just having a big tantrum, hissy fit on the playground, rolling in mulch and ants and whatever else is on the ground. And then Leilana's just looks at me and then looks back at the kid. I'm like, it's okay. She's just allergic. It's okay. Her daddy has a lazy eye, and that's why she does that. It's okay. It's fine. But it makes a big difference how you bring up, as it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. For those of you that are taking notes, I made a thing. Pastor, he's really good at making, what are those called when you do a letter and it stands for something? Acrostic? Yeah, so I'm going to follow Pastor's method kind of thing that he does quite often. So I have an acrostic for everyone today as far as leadership goes. It's kind of simple and kind of logical. This is a foundation of that. It says, if you really want someone, whether it's in leadership or family or relationships, this is the same thing. It can happen for siblings. This is the same thing that's beneficial for marriages, for husbands, for dads. If you want someone to do it properly, the acrostic is to show. Just show them how to do it. It's very simple, right? It's obvious. If I want to learn something, someone needs to show it to me, right? SHOW, show. The first one, show, is to share the information. Train up a child in the way he should go, so when they are older, they do not depart from it. You can't expect someone. I was in a conversation a while ago, and I think even Connor and I, we talked about this the first night or two when he came back, is how can you be mad at sinners for doing wicked things when they don't know any better? Right? A certain coffee company has questionable ideas, right, Connor? And so you can't be mad at them if they're doing silly stuff because they don't have God in their life. How are they going to know right from wrong if you can't be mad at heathens when they rage? You can be upset at what they do, but the only other way for them to get better is if we teach it to them, right? So it says share. Share the information both verbally and physically, how to perform the task, and to, most important, what is the big picture, right? Could you imagine going in, how many of you remember your first day at work? Or your first day at your new job, right? And you had all these different tasks. You might have had experience on what to do and how to do it from a previous work location, but do you know how to do it at that specific job? No, it's very difficult, right? You don't know what the minute-by-minute procedures, the hour-by-hour procedures, when do you take break, when do you not take break. For those of you that maybe work in restaurants, that's very questionable, right? Whether you actually do take a break or not. Some jobs, it says it's a 9 to 5, and you're still there at 7 or 8, right? It's very difficult to understand that. There's a lot of nuances within, no matter what company, no matter what relationship we may be in. So the first one in this, to be productive, is to share. Share the information both verbally and physically, how to perform the task, and what the overall big picture is. It's so important to understand what the big picture is and the goal. Could you imagine we as Christians wanting to go to heaven knowing there is a heaven, but not knowing the Ten Commandments? Could you imagine being Christians on this side of the cross and not being able to read the Bible with all the different parts in it when they says, Jesus, tell us what heaven is like, and not knowing that? Jesus, he compares heaven to so many different things. He says, heaven is like unto this, heaven is like unto this, heaven is like unto this. He gives descriptions of what heaven is. He gives us descriptions of what a Christian walk is supposed to be like. He tells us, even in Ephesians, how we're supposed to be parents, how we're supposed to be siblings, how we're supposed to be loving to another. He tells us how we're supposed to give. He gives us all these dozens of parables on how to make these life decisions. Now imagine being a Christian and not having that, not knowing the big picture. Leilana, she found the Disney movie Hercules the other day, or the other week, so we've been kind of watching that, and she's loving it, the animation. And me growing up, I love the stories of the Greek, fictional, of course, fictional, but I love those stories and legends from that culture. Mackenzie and I, we've been able to, laugh and joke because we're reading some of the books that she's reading. I know I finally caught up to her reading level. Be proud of me. Don't mean to brag, but that's so bad. That's a joke for those of you on Facebook. I know how to read newspapers sometimes. But we're reading a book, and it has some of those storylines and things like that. And of course, her and I will talk and get along with that. A couple other people here in service, some of our youth has already, read those series and books too. But I really enjoyed that kind of mythology. And what really got me understanding that when I was older and was really dedicated to God and understood, I really enjoyed learning the Greek deities, lowercase g's, because that's what the Hebrews dealt with, right? They were with the Greek and the Roman culture. When Jesus was alive and walking, when he was preaching in all his parables, he was talking to the Israelites that were under the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, their gods, Jupiter, which is Greek Zeus, right? He is the hierarchy of all the gods. You had Hera or Minerva or Nero. You had all these different ones. They changed the names from the Roman. They adapted it from the Greek, but it's all that same culture. And it was so important to me because I was like, when Jesus was talking to the Hebrews, okay, yeah, the Hebrews had their turn, but then afterwards, it was all the Gentiles, right? And the Greeks, it was like, why did the Greeks convert so quickly? Why did a lot of the Greeks convert so easily? Because the Greeks and the Roman, they understood the big picture of spirituality. You had to work so hard to be able to get into the underworld. And for them, the underworld was separated into multiple different sections and quadrants. And if you were really, really good, you would earn your right to go into the fields of Elysium, where you can run free and frolic in a field of daisies for all of eternity. They understood that. And they understood it took hard work to get there. And then when you come up with a concept that says, hey, maybe you can earn your right to get to the good stuff. And then some other culture comes in, and these guys in robes that are acting kind of weird and unique, and just they're all of a sudden kind, and they're so courteous, and you lock them up and they're happy. You beat them and they're happy. You burn them in oil and they're singing praises and they're jumping for joy. Something's wrong with those people, but why? And then they say, because our God took one for the team, and you claim him, and you don't have to earn a right into heaven. You get the fields of Elysium that's 10, 15, 100 times better, and it's for all of eternity, and you don't have to worry about a redo. You don't have to sell someone when they have a better product. They say, where do I sign? You show them the big picture. But if you don't take the time to train them up in the way they should go, every single time they're going to depart from it. When they don't know what they're working for, they're not going to be working for nothing. Second one is H. Help them help them through each step, working together, shadowing each other's movements, give advice from your own experience. What are some bumps that they will come along the way? What will they find along the way? Let's go to Psalms 32:8, Brother Aaron. Psalms 32:8, I'll read from my version out. Maybe it's the same up there. Maybe a word or two different. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Yeah, teach them how they should go so when they're older they don't depart from it. But in Psalms, Jesus is a little more specific. He says, I will guide you with my eye, with my precision, with my detail, with my focus, with my experience, with my understanding of that big picture. How many of you remember on training day? Or for those of you that are in school, the teacher, they say, okay, this is how it's done. Okay, pop quiz tomorrow. This is done. Go home, practice. But they don't actually sit down and do it with you. They don't actually answer the questions you might have. I love how some people's brains are and how they're, we have different learning styles, right? How many of you can see it once and you got it? Oh, I love all of you. Oh, never mind. Some of you. How many of you have to write it down and once or twice and you got it? Kaz, I was always jealous of people like you. How many of you can just hear it? You don't need to show me, don't tell me, just verbally explain to me I got it. How many of you are hearers? Hearers of the word. Right? None? How many of you have to do all of them? 25 times and then still ask questions. Yeah, that was me. That was me. I had to, I would get it, but it had to be like, repeat it, and shove it in there, right? A lot of you are nodding your heads like, yeah, there's my peeps. Okay? But how many of you had mentors that they didn't learn like that? I already told you once. How many of your parents are like that? How many times do I have to tell you? One more time. And then tomorrow, I'll be here for the rest of your life because I'm your kid. Don't worry, when I move out, we have cell phones. Yeah, right? You're stuck with me. My favorite was, I brought you into the world, I can take you out, and then you're in jail. I know Jesus. You're going to send me to heaven? I'll take it. I love it when they it wasn't a threat to me. It's like, all right, cool. Woohoo! So I don't have to go to school? Yay, no 10th school for me in 3rd grade. And stop at 9. I'm good to go. Leilana. Oh, man. She was being sassy. Oh, my goodness. I love her. I love seeing me. She's so stubborn like me and picky with food like me. Oh, it's irritating, but I love it. I'm like, yeah, so that's what everybody else feels like. Wow, really, guys? This whole side of the church is laughing at me. Okay, but yeah, she is like that. For those of you that know her, she's like that, right? She's like, I need to have French fries. Oh no, big soy sauce. And only chicken, that's it. Oh, this is chicken. Okay, me? What is it? Chicken. No, that's pork. Stop lying to me. Don't lie to me. No, I ain't eating that. It's bacon. No, I know what bacon is. I'll eat bacon, but I'm not eating that. But then Stephanie, oh man, you know how Stephanie's so witty and sassy sometimes? Yeah, she got that. She got that from her mama for sure. And I remember I was sitting on the couch. I don't remember what I was doing. Probably something useless and non-productive. But I can hear in the bathroom, Leilana was taking a bath. Stephanie was giving her a bath. And then she just, if it was anything that Stephanie has ever said, it sure came out of Leilana's mouth for sure that night. It was so sassy and witty and like, I don't have to, I don't need to, whatever. And then she's like, what? And she was talking to her, and then she just starts arguing with her. I'm like, Steph, why are you arguing with a 3-year-old? Just tell her what to do. She says, but she doesn't do that to you. She backsasses me. So now it's got to the point, she says, oh, really? You want to go talk to Daddy? And then she's like, straightens up. But this night, she didn't. She tested her. So then Stephanie's definitely putting up in the, the way they should go. So when she's older, she does not depart from it. And she's definitely applying, I will guide thee within my eye from her experience. So her experience was, if you're getting outnumbered by your children, you do the whole mom-dad tag team thing, right? So she tagged me in. I'm like, yes, score. So then I go in, and with Leilana, she knows I won't tolerate the crying or whatever. She can talk to me, she can complain, whatever, she can cry, but no whining and no sassy tone in her voice. And she did. I said, oh, really? Turn around. And she's like, I'm happy. I'm very happy. Okay, I got it. I'm like, no, you already did it. You already made mama mad, and I'm going to be all in trouble if I don't do something, so you're getting it. So she turns around, I smack her. And then she got to the point she pulled an Uncle Sam. That didn't hurt. Boom! Boom! Got her again, and she's like, ah! I'm like, score. I know, Miss Sarah's having a heart attack. I mean, I didn't hit her hard. It was more the emotional thing. Like, my hand didn't even hurt. Her bottom wasn't even red. It was just the embarrassment of it. So, you got to dig into it. You got to get her. So then I had the most proudest moment. I don't even think I can top this in fatherhood. I'm going to have to wait till, she's, driving a car or graduating or, hiding her first boyfriend or whatever. That's not never mind, moving on. I grabbed her, and of course, I wanted to have the talk. I wanted to have a good negotiation, a talk with her. Well, not negotiation, the counseling, the healing part of that. And I said, Leilana, you got to make sure you listen to mommy. It's very important to listen and cooperate. You don't understand now, but your cooperation is very important when you get older. She's like, okay. I said, do you understand? She says, yes. I said, show me you understand. For sign language, ASL is understand, comprehend. So I make sure she does it verbally and physically because I don't know what learning style she is, so I got to shove everything into her as much as I can. And then my favorite moment, I said to her, I said, Leilana, I promise you, that hurt you more than it did me because I feel great right now. And then she says, she looked at me like, and Stephanie, of course, she's dying laughing. She's laughing because the saying is, it hurts you more than me. I'm like, that don't hurt me at all. I feel great. I don't know what my dad and mom was talking about. They always said, oh, this hurts me more than you for me to spank you. No, I felt amazing. I felt accomplished. I'm doing something. I'm instilling benefit to her. And I'm thinking, and Stephanie, she's dying laughing over there. And I'm like, I think that's maybe what Jesus is talking about sometimes. Sometimes life is rough. Sometimes we are so stubborn that we have to, drag our knees in the mud a little bit till we get the picture. To just realize, hey, if I cooperate, I won't even have to deal with this form of emotion right now. Help them through each step, working together, shadowing each other's movements, give advice from experience. What are some bumps that may come along the way? When it comes to leadership and mentorship, you can't have a leader without a student. You can't have a student without a teacher. And you have to go through those hard, uncomfortable times. And you have to be able to share those experiences to truly grow. The best teachers and the best mentors I've had in my life are always the ones that says, hey, I'm glad you taught me that. Working through the problems I had in life, they were able to tell me and said, hey, you know what? I think I learned more in that one than you did. There's a great gift, a wonderful, humbling treasure you can have by willing to help someone else and learn from seeing the light when it finally clicks in their eyes and say, yes, I got that. Or in Leilana's case, when they go, ding. The next one is O, observe. Right, so we have share, help, observe. Observe them as they go through their responsibilities and tasks. Encourage and compliment, but try not to correct them until they're done. let them make their own mistakes and give them the chance to catch their mistakes and correct them as they go. Sometimes we get so much into the teaching format and the educating format that we don't let them try the bike without training wheels for 5 feet. Take away those training wheels and just guide them, be right there to catch them if they need to, and then go from there. Allow them to make those minor mistakes. You're watching them along they go so they don't make the big mistakes. You can rein them in before something really bad and tragic happens, but you're right there. I remember in martial arts, Mike Chat, he was I guess second or third generation Power Ranger. And he got really famous. And he developed a system called XMA, where you would combine acrobatic skills and the big showman type stuff with traditional martial arts. And it created an entire new genre of competition. Actually, even Skyler, he did that, a longtime competitor in that, and won a lot of trophies for that. And, met some really good people and some good martial arts acquaintances and friends over the years on that. And one actually stayed in contact even now, right? Where is she at now? Is she still here? No, she went back home? Yeah, her family was really cool. And a couple other people, of course. But anyway, he developed this XMA stuff, and then we were going. And then, of course, it was in the early 2000s, I was working with my brother from another mother, Eliamar. He was really good and very agile, very thin but muscular, very flexible, and gravity did not like him. He was able to jump really high, like effortlessly, and gravity just liked him a lot less. Me, gravity loves me. Like bear hugs me, loves me, and I don't appreciate that. It's too clingy. I want to be able to flip and jump and do all that kind of crazy stuff, kind of like what Skylar does. But gravity likes me too much, so I lay down a lot. But gravity does not like me as much as Kobe. Say that. Put that right there. Sorry, Kobe, again. But anyway, Elimar's like, hey, help me with this backflip. Help me with this stuff. And he's like, okay, cool. So we're doing cartwheels. Wrong. And we're doing round-offs. Wrong, by the way. We're doing back handsprings. Really wrong. We're doing backflips. Not me. Him. Still wrong. But then he says, okay, Jason, you got me? You got me? He's like, yeah, bro, I got you. You can do this. You can do this. Gravity doesn't even like you. I don't even have to do anything. I got you. So he's over there, and he runs over here. He does this beautiful round-off, which was still wrong, but it looked good from our point of view because we didn't have a teacher. We were just doing what we thought and what we expected it to look like. So he does it, and then he jumps up really high in the air because, again, gravity doesn't like him. And he starts to rotate doing a backflip, and all of a sudden he realizes he's in the air with no good teacher. Jason, who has no idea what's going on, is actually spotting me, and I forgot where I was. All this happened in less than a blink of an eye. And then momentarily he says, but don't worry, Jason says I got you. And then I was like, whoa, he's really high. And I see him, his rotation stops, and he just keeps going. And I'm like so confused, and everything in my mind started going slow motion too. I'm like, whoa. And then he's over here, head down, feet up, and stop rotating. And he just looks over at me upside down like this, and he's like, and I know his face is saying, you got me, bro? And I'm like, no. I don't. I'm here, and you're way over there. This is going to hurt bad. And he's like, anger immediately on his face, and then, boom, crash, rolls on his head and flops over and hits the wall. I'm like, dude, you okay? He didn't talk to me. He just looked at me. I'm like, whatever, bro. I deserve that. Let's try again. He just walks away. No, I'm done. Eventually, we go over to the gymnastics school where we actually meet Stephanie and go through there. And then we start coaching, and then we actually learn the proper way to actually tumble and do acrobatics. And we actually learned the proper way to actually spot people, which was not at all what I was doing. We actually learned how to do it correct, which I'm sure many of some of our youth members are very grateful that I actually learned how to spot backflips properly, right? I can actually do that pretty well now. But with that, there's certain things that you can allow them to make the mistake on. And certain times when they're falling, you got to learn how to catch them by the ankle before they crash and burn. Sometimes when you're observing them, you have to give a little bit of stress in there. My favorite is when the gymnast girls, they got into the balance beam and they're trying to do it and they're so scared and they're doing this and they don't want to fall. And I'm like, lady, it's a 4-inch floor beam. You're on the ground. What are you worried about? You're like, I don't want to fall. Okay, so I immediately pick them up and put them on the big beam, the tall one. And they're like standing this high, and I'm like this, and I'm having to hold my hand up here to even get to their waist, and they're just like itty bitty, like maybe Kendall's height, right? And they're like this, and they're like so scared, and they're grabbing me, and they're falling. If they can just stand on their feet, they're not going to fall. They just need to stand and walk. They do it on the ground, they do it on the floor beam, but you put them up that high, and that perspective is so scary. And they realize I'm there helping them. They know I've showed it to them. They know I've helped them through it. They know I'm there observing, and I have my hand, and all I got to do. And they just keep grabbing, and their effort to grab is what's causing them to fall. So, of course, me being the wonderful, caring, compassionate person I am, and yeah, I know if Lexi was here, she might be laughing, but painfully. They'd fall. And of course, they're on padded ground. I mean, the ground is padded. It's spring-loaded pads. And then we put crash pads on top of it. And I shove them off and they fall. And of course, what I say is, but did you die? And they look at me. No, but you might. So I pick them up and do it again. And they're doing it. And I said, don't grab me. And then they get nervous and they're going and they grab me. And stop doing that! And they hit the ground. Good, get back up again. So you want to touch me? No. They start doing it. I'm like, oh, you can walk now, huh? Like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, oh, neat. Okay, now come on. Now we're going to go to handstands. Mommy! They didn't want to do that. Because now they're thinking they're going to do a handstand. I'm going to shove them off. I did. I did a lot. I'm so happy in my heart. But they eventually got it, right? Gave them experience, learned from that experience, observation, that interaction with observation, giving them a chance to make those subtle mistakes that's going to build their character. Not ones that's going to ruin their life, but build who they're going to be and make them stronger for it. I'm going to pick on Savannah because it was so epic. Savannah, she was so little. She's always so cute. I love her so much. And she was in training with us, and she was kicking in. And the one thing she didn't like to do was sparring. So what do you think I made her do a lot? Spar, because she's so sweet. I want to make sure if anybody messes with her, she can just smile and break their teeth. So one day she actually applied it, which was so awesome. And there's this one guy. He's pretty tall, Mark. And she's like this. I mean, it's literally like Layla and the giant, like Goliath and David is. And he only knew one button. It's like, go. And he was pretty strong. And and with Layla, Savannah, she taught her how to move and get in and get out and to really use her legs because she was really strong because she's a swimmer. So she had really strong kicks that she didn't even realize how powerful they were. And she had pretty good flexibility and range and height. So she can get her foot from here and she can put it into your face really quick. And she didn't realize how good she was. I don't even think she realized now how amazing she was. But in this specific time, he was going and they were sparring and she was getting a little nervous. I can see on her face. I'm like, okay, just keep on going. It's okay. I'm right there. I can grab him and pull him back if need to. And then she's getting closer to the wall. And I'm like, okay, I might need to step in there. I'm about to step in. I'm about to really do this whole observation thing and really get in there and help her out and tell Mark, back off because, you're literally hitting down to a person. And he comes up, and before I can get in, I'm like, should I or should I not? He comes in and drops a fist right here. She was wearing a helmet, but it's right here on the side of her head. And it hits her. From my point of view, I'm going to have to be like waking her up. But from her point of view, she's like, I'm done. She dodges the hit. It glances her, pushes her. She slides and turns, and this right foot comes up out of nowhere and drops him across the jaw so hard, it picks his feet out from under him, and he, boom, flat on the ground. And I'm like, in my head. I was going to do that in real life because I'm like, what's wrong with that guy? But in my head, that's what happened. And then the coolest thing ever, she goes, are you okay? Yeah, I mean, that was kind of hard. And like, Mark is like, you good? No. His helmet is like turned. I'm like, bro, that was awesome. I didn't really make her spar after that again. And then, even then, after then, people were like questioning. Everybody that was there is like, okay, we can push her, but don't push her that far. It was so cool. I love it. So, Savannah, I still remember that. It was epic. It was great. Observe them. Let them go through it, right? Ephesians 6:4. It says, and ye fathers, or we can put leaders, mentors, teachers, family members, do not provoke your child to wrath, but bring them up in the training and, someone say that? I always say abomination. Thank you, what you said. Of the Lord, right? Many times in the observe, when we're observing, we might take the time to just do it for them. But Ephesians says, don't provoke them, don't irritate them, don't make them mad. Let them go through it. Train them up. When it comes to training, you have to be able to practice. In observation, give them time to practice. Last one. S, share. H, help. O, observe. Show. W, willing. The most important, from my perspective, these might be a little different order for you, but for me, this one's the most important because if you're not willing, specifically, willing to start over, you've ruined everything. W says, willing to start over. There will be times that we must start over from step one. Be willing as a leader, as a mentor, as a friend, as a brother, as a father, a sister, mother, aunt, babysitter, employee, whatever it may be, whatever situation you're doing in life, just plug it into this. It's very important that we must be willing to accept that your team member or individual has not done this before. Give them the extra time to do it right now in their training so it does not come back to bite either one of you later. Patience is very important in the observation, but also patience and willing to do it over again is so very important. Psalms 32:9, it says, do not be like the horse or like the mule, which has no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, at least they will not come near you. I remember a time when I was younger, my grandparents, they loved to go camping. And when I was in North Carolina, and sometimes for summer breaks, they would send me over there to watch because then my parents would end up moving or whatever, and it was a little more stable for us, so I'd be able to spend some time with my grandparents in North Carolina. And every weekend when my grandfather got off work, we were all ready. My grandma got everything set. Me and my cousin Shannon, we got set, and we'd hop into the camper or mobile home or motor home or whatever they had, and then we'd go camping for the weekend. We'll go ride horses, we'll go play in streams and visit waterfalls and all kind of stuff. And I remember we went up into the mountains near the, I think it was near the Cherokee area, and we got to ride horses. I loved doing that. Being Native American, I really never got to embrace that side of the culture because we're always going everywhere. I grew up more in the Hawaiian culture than I did the actual Cherokee culture. So whenever I got to do that with my grandparents, I loved it because I loved the whole Native American side of my heritage. And they took us up close to, I guess it was close to the Cherokee side, and we got to ride horses. And it was so exciting for me because I was finally big enough to do it by myself. But these horses, they went those paths 2-3 times a day. They literally blindfolded. They could have done it easily, no problem. And even more so is they only had to follow the trail, the lead. right? And then the horses just knew to follow the other horse. But the guy he gave me, he says, this horse will be a little more excited if you tug the rein a little bit, give a little tap. He's still kind of young. He's very safe, but he'll be a little more what you want him to do. So if you need him to speed up a little bit, or if you want him to slow down and enjoy, he said you can do it. Now, why he trusted me, an 8-year-old with a big giant horse, to do whatever I wanted with, I don't know. But I'm glad he did. Because my sister, I mean, she was like a sister at that age, my cousin, she was being a little extra sassy to me that week. And she got to be on a horse, and she was excited because it was the horse in front of me. And that just made her day, because I don't know, it meant something for her to beat me. I don't know, but it wasn't like a competition or a race. But she was making all these kind of remarks, and then that horse was a little bit bigger, so of course, she one-upped me. Every time there's a chance, for some reason that day she was one-upping me. I don't know, maybe because we beat her in like the game of Chinese checkers the other night or whatever, or chess. I always beat her in that game too, so maybe I deserved it, was the point. But she was really sticking it to me a little bit, so I said, okay, well, I'm on my horse and going whatever, and I'm pulling back, slowing down, and catching up and running, and deliberately slowing back down so I can make it go a little bit faster and run a little bit faster, because they're trail horses, so everything was just walking and sightseeing. And then she was just going, whatever, why is your horse so slow? Why is your horse? I'm like, oh, now you're making fun of my horse? Really? I mean, we're just renting these horses. I mean, we're not renting, we're riding. I mean, it's not even my horse, but now you're making fun of my horse? I turned on my horse, I said, do you like that? And then it didn't say anything, just like, whatever, dude. So then I said, okay, fine. So we're going through this trail, and there's like this little hill that went up, and there's this tree right there, and this little hill, and then I can see it drops off. So she's like, trotting away. I'm like, all right, fine. So I kick the horse, and I go, yeah, and then it starts running. I'm like, yeah, this is great, woohoo! And then it runs. I steer it over onto that little, I don't know, that little tiny hill, and then it goes onto the hill, and then when I get to the other side of the hill, it just drops. I mean, it's like a 10-foot drop, no big deal. But it jumped, and it jumped over my cousin. I'm like, dude, like a movie. It jumped right over, and she like got so scared that she almost fell off the horse. But then it landed in front, and then the horse, like, no lie, like the horse obviously knew she was being sassy, because then it like did a fancy step, and just kept on walking. And she's like, cried and cried. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it was a bug. I don't know. Because like, what's wrong with her? A bee. I don't know. That's great. But I loved it. It was so awesome. But it's so because the horse still was on the bit. It still was trained to do whatever it could do. They were so tamed that it wouldn't just go and be free. Like there's nothing holding it there. You know what I mean? Even with me being a very inexperienced rider, if the horse wanted to, there's nothing that I could do to say, hey, I want to go run free. I mean, Miss Amy, you know a lot about horses, right? They get trained so much, especially in that situation, that it's like, I mean, I don't want to say it's cruel, but they're mentally like chained to that route, right? Is that a good way to express that? Yeah. Yeah, they'll just go, right? And many times in our work life, ideally in companies and in families, we would love people just to be so robotic like that. And sometimes it's very important to be robotic like that. Sometimes it's so important to be very specific because there's a lot of safety features. The other day I asked Matt, I said, Matt, do you guys go through a checklist when you're about to fly the planes? Could you imagine you get onto the plane? Who's getting on a plane in the near future? Could you imagine if you knew for a fact that the pilot didn't do the safety check? Robotically, methodically, knew what to do in and out so much that he can do it in his sleep? I'll be very scared, right? We just went, the other day, we went fishing. Oh, I had such a great time. I had such a good time. I got seasick, but I still had such a good time. And it was really weird because I knew, like, I had, not to be, bathroom humor or whatever, but, when you're in the ocean, the waves are going and the spray is going, sometimes it makes you got to go to the bathroom a little bit. But I knew if I go, I got to wait till we stop. Because if I go into the bathroom inside, I'm going to lose it. But I couldn't hold it anymore, so I did, and I lost it. It just hit me like that. And I don't think I've ever been so seasick before in my life. I mean, I remember going on catamarans in Hawaii, rough seas and everything, but it's been a while, so I'm not so, I'm kind of desensitized to the ocean. But everybody got a little bit oozy. Even one of the guys working on the ship, he's like, yeah, today's a rough one. So I didn't feel so bad. I mean, it wasn't no issue on my ego, but I had a great time because I remember we're holding on to the rail, and Serena's holding on to the rail, and Steph's holding on to the rail, and we're like this and moving, and I'm like, woohoo! I'm thinking of Leilani on the roller coaster, and even Mackenzie's there, and we're just having a great time, up and down on the waves. Hopefully I'm not making any of you seasick now, but we were having such a great time. And then afterwards, I remember I'm just laying on the deck, and I took Dramamine, and I'm like thinking, that was a bad idea, because for like an hour, I was feeling really good, not sick, enjoying the cold, enjoying the spray of the ocean, but then I couldn't keep my eyes open. I just started to fall asleep. And I remember the part that I really enjoyed most was seeing Mackenzie, because Mackenzie, she would catch a couple fish, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, honestly, not like a fishtail story where the fish was this big, right? They're actually getting bigger. And I really enjoyed it because I saw her excitement, I saw her joy of it. One of the guys, he was one of the other, I guess the deckhand or people, one of the employees, I guess, he had a reel, and when he would catch one, he would say, hey, Mackenzie, come reel this one in. And she did, and it was such a good time. I got to see her catch 4 of the fish. I don't know if that's how many she did, but I got to see 4 of them and see her pick the biggest one. She said it was the biggest one. I remember seeing that. But I remember slipping in and out, just going back and forth asleep. But it was so fun just to watch her excitement, just to be able to see how just the joy she had. And it was so interesting because even with Stacy and then Mom and then Mare saying this and giving her this instruction, saying, oh, do this one. And when they can see that she was having a little bit of struggle, they verbally coached her, but she did it. She took the advice from the mentors around her, from the people that had the experience around her, and she wasn't just a person just being a genuine robot and getting it done. She was able to do it by herself, and she did it. And the joy, not only was she excited that she did it and accomplished something for herself, but everyone enjoyed in that celebration, that victory, not because they helped her, but because they were happy to see her achieve something. No one can take that away from her. For the rest of her life, no one can take that away from her. And for me just laying on the deck, about passed out and just glad I didn't, make a mess all over myself in the rocking seas and all that, I was, even in that such discomfort that I was dealing with, it was so amazing just to see her light up and see her victory. And again, I'm thinking, how awesome is it from God's point of view to see when we finally get it? And all the hard work that he put into our lives, and the hard work he put into the mentors, just to be put into our lives, and the scripture, and the pastors, and the youth leaders, and the parents, all that he did for one moment, just for one of his loved ones to truly get it, and it clicks. How amazing of a feeling is that for him? And I can only experience it just a fraction. But it was so amazing to see that with Mackenzie. Later that day, she says, oh, man, why did my ribs hurt? I think it was from the fishing pole and pulling. And the victories of God, it does leave a mark. It does. It gives us the opportunity to remember the success that we've had. I got to thinking, how many times do we look at the discomforts in our lives and think it because it's going wrong? And it's not pain of victory from something we've overcome. Willing to start over, there will be times where we must start over from step 1. And be willing to accept that your team member has never done this before. Give them the extra time to get it right. Go through the training so that it doesn't come back to bite us either way. Sometimes we just have to start over, and sometimes it's just a little verbal. Say, hey, don't forget this. Hey, don't forget that. Just a little nudge in the right direction. But if we get all mad and say, really, we got to show you this again? Where's the joy in that? What good would it have been if Stacy or Mayor, whoever was there, or the guide there, just took the rail back from her and says, no, you got to do it like this, and then gave it back. No, you got to do it like this and give it back. As Christians, we should really take time to show, to share, to help, observe, and be willing to do it all over again and again and again. Because if not, how are we ever going to learn? And if not, how are we going to have the enjoy or the opportunity to enjoy the big and the subtle victories of life? Lord, thank you so much for the day you've given us and the opportunity to be here. Bless us and keep us strong. And allow this these are your scriptures. These are your verses. Allow us to have patience and to be able to work and to realize that no matter who we are, if we are Christian, we are peculiar people. We are unique. And no matter what stage in life we are, we do have authority. We are in a leadership role for you to guide people to you in the smallest ways and in the large ways. Because if we can't guide them there, how are you going to do the work needed to? I mean, you say in your scripture that if no one sings your praises, the rocks and the trees will do it. But you rather have us do it. So Lord, allow us to be strong and allow us to really move forward and step up. And this year, maybe we can set a goal to really apply that, to level up our Christianity and level up our hunger for you, even in the slightest ways, to show people your passion, your patience, and your love. Keep us strong and safe and always in your will. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you, everybody.